this is the lateral trace. We've got Scott Brown and we've got Kevin Kisner on the right, Scott Brown on the left. And you're going to notice, it's a little small expanded, but you're going to notice there's a gap between the line going back and the line going through. And in Kiz, it's pretty much straight back and straight through. We will give you all this stuff here too.
You mean all the way to the foot?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll run through these traces. And you can see Scott's trace. There's a gap between the line going back and the line going through. Pretty consistent this way. We call this a lateral trace. We'll get into the full next. Kisner, I can tell you, this was early on. These traces were provided by a B1 user named Scotty Hamilton. Scotty Hamilton's one of the top tour coaches on the PGA Tour. Scotty and Jake were the two primary sources of giving me information early on, and John Tillery as well. So we had really good data going in. You're only good as your data coming in, right? You have to have good data. So we rely entirely on tour data to get us started, and then we went on tour to identify these traces as well. What type of traces do you guys see out there, Jordan and Jeff?
Well, all of them.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, see some Z's with the kids, definitely with drivers.
Right.
I mean, they're using their ground pretty hard because the legs are their strongest asset, so we see a lot of backup with them.
Okay, so we're going to go into, this is the next trace, is the linear trace. I'm particularly proud of this slide here. In Canada, we have two Olympic coaches, and our two guys here, they share. This is Corey Connors on the left. Derek Ingram is the men's Olympic coach. Tristan Malale is the women's coach. And they're both very, very good friends. Derek Ingram was a young man when I was playing golf, so we grew up together. He was is a great player. On the left, Corey Connors. You may not have heard of him too much, but I was asked to go see him at the Honda, I think 4 years ago. It goes straight back, straight through. Derek Ingram asked me, what do you think of this fellow's chances? I said, this guy's going to be a great player. You may remember last year he qualified, he had the Monday qualifier for the Houston Open, won the Houston Open, flew him on a private jet, first time he got a ride on a private jet, flew to Augusta overnight, teed up, and there was two of his idols, Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. I just got goosebumps, maybe the temperature or it's actual what I was thinking. And, but he got the tee up right in front of Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. Derek Ingram was there with him, and he said that Corey, they both came up to him, shook his hand, and said, congratulations on making it to Augusta. This is the trace that gets people to Augusta, bar none. This is an iron trace. Now we're going to totally, Ryan wants, he's biting his tongue. He wants to get in there and talk about their traces. He's seen it. We're going to give him lots of opportunity. But this linear trace is the trace that wins on tour, bar none, with the irons. On the right here, my favorite is Boo Weekly. I like Boo because he's like me. He likes chicken wings and beer. Doesn't like to practice a whole heck of a lot. He's one of the nicest guys on tour. If he was here today, he'd say, where do you want me to hit that 4-iron, Terry? If he doesn't, he's good at remembering names. Hash, where do you want to hit that ball? Tell me where. Just tell me where. And he'll hit a 5-iron, 3-iron, wherever club he's got in his bag, and he'll just hit it naturally there. His trace is always linear. Again, just to review as we go, key pressure positions, 55, 60 on the lead side was the first one. Okay?
Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
You know, I watched Corey play a lot of golf at Kent State, walked with him, watched him play. Great player, smooth transition, knew he was going to do well out there. What does the transition do to the trace? Because when I watched him play, he was always smooth, and I could predict it would look like that back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, some guys transition a lot quicker. What does that do to the trace?
So we're going to talk about that more in phase 2, but the second thing that we noticed, and this was a revelation in pressure mapping, this is when I knew we had something that was very, very good. Because in the old days, we talked about the positions at the top of the swing. For a good player, as soon as they take the club back, the pressure is almost always moving forward. And you'll see this with lesser players where the pressure stays to the trail side a long time, and it takes a long time for it to get forward. But in every example of a touring professional we've ever seen, that pressure is moving forward to the lead side almost as soon as the club is pulled back, and definitely when the lead arm is parallel to the ground on the way back. So that's the second key pressure position. But that's important to identify because you couldn't do that when we were just capturing. When I was with Bob capturing all the traces at the PGA tournaments with just video, you couldn't see it. This is something you just cannot see, so you can see the unseen. Any identifications there?
Well, I think the key note there, especially if you're a coach and you're teaching high-level players and juniors and trying to pay for college, obviously you have to get them to send it. There's no option there anymore. And what you'll see on the Boditrak is that the maximum amount of vertical pressure on the trail side with the guys or ladies that hit the ball the furthest is anywhere, and we'll use the P's, anywhere from P2 to P3 would be the absolute most amount of vertical pressure on the trail side. After that, it unweights and dissipates. The center of pressure won't necessarily be left, it'll be moving left. So someone could achieve maybe 80% anywhere from here, and they get there quite quickly. And then all of a sudden at the top of their swing, that they've unweighted the side a little bit, and they're starting to get to 70 or 60. So the center of pressure is moving forward. What they're doing is they're starting to push under the lead side as they're unweighting their trail side, and that's going to accommodate what will eventually be a center of mass move that you'll witness later. Again, to say that simply, I was told as a junior that you want to starts from the ground up, but you want to start your hips before that. If nothing else, what you could do for 90% of your clients is get their pressure into the lead side sooner rather than later. And the thing that the Boditrak has taught us is, boy, we were not kidding. I mean, literally from this point on, if you have them start pushing over there, again, if you were always an advocate of hammering your left side or get into your lead side, you're not getting into your lead side. The force in the ground is not allowing for the movement. So if you did nothing else and you took your average amateur player and they got in here and you got their pressure to the lead side sooner rather than later, you'd be helping them immeasurably.